Hello, this is Chef John from foodwishes.com with Toy Box Tomato Ricotta Cheese Torta. That's right, do not let the long name fool you. This is fast and easy to do. And I really hope you make this. Except not exactly like you're going to see me make it here, since I added a little too much of a couple ingredients. But that's my problem. And I have these problems so you don't have to. So we'll make a few adjustments. And ultimately, I think you're going to love what you end up with. And to get started, what we'll do is add some ricotta cheese to a bowl. And you know I love my basket ricotta. Mostly because of those super cool marks it leaves. But also it tends to be done in smaller batches. And then to our cheese, we will add 1 whole large egg. Plus what's supposed to be a little bit of flour, but I added too much. So I will adjust that on the recipe. We're also going to do a little bit of baking powder, as well as some freshly ground black pepper. And of course, a little bit of salt. And then I followed that with way too much garlic. All right, 1 small clove would have been plenty, but I added 3 large ones. And then I finished up with some freshly chopped herbs, including the very cheese-friendly oregano and basil. And then I finished up with some Parmesan cheese. Oh yeah, the real stuff, Parmigiano Reggiano. And I grabbed a spoon and gave this a thorough mix. So basically what happened here is I did a test version that was really good, but I tried to improve it anyway by adding more stuff, which made it much worse. So to summarize, I will adjust all these amounts, and what you see in the written recipe will be what you really should put in. And then once that's mixed up, we can transfer that into a pie dish that's been generously greased with olive oil. And this is a 10-inch size, although it could be 9 inches. I'm never sure if we're supposed to measure the top or the bottom. But anyway, this is a standard size. And once that's been transferred in and spread around as evenly as possible, it is ready to transfer into the center of a 400-degree oven for about 20 minutes, or until our cheese firms up. And it looks like something very strange. Okay, thanks to all the flour and the baking powder I added, this sort of puffed up and then quickly fell as soon as it came out of the oven. So the adjusted recipe probably won't look quite as weird. But anyway, what we'll do is let this sit and cool, at least a little bit. All right, I would not serve this piping hot, but I think warm is very nice, as is room temperature or cold. And while I was waiting, I decided to take some creme fraiche and add a few spoons of pesto to it. And I thought I would mix that up and sort of use it as a frosting. The only problem is, if you make a spread with creme fraiche and you put it over something that's still warm, it will kind of liquefy and become very runny. So in hindsight, I really should have let my torta cool all the way down to room temp before trying to put this on. But I didn't. I went ahead and transferred my still sort of warm torta to a plate, and then proceeded to spread that mixture all over. And as I do, you can actually see a changing appearance. But I was not really that concerned with the look, since I went ahead and finished up as planned, with as many halved toy box cherry tomatoes as I could fit on top. And we call these toy box tomatoes because they come in so many different colors and shapes and sizes. And while you might not find those at a regular supermarket, you will almost always find them in the summer at any farmer's market. But if you can't, don't worry. Any nice ripe sweet cherry tomato will work. And the reason I love this cheese torta technique so much is because it's really versatile. And if you're not going to do tomatoes, you could do grilled summer squash or eggplant, or I've even done some fresh caramelized sweet corn. So not only is it fast, easy, and delicious, it makes a great delivery system for all kinds of other tasty things as well. And then once I had those tomatoes arranged on top as beautifully as possible, I finished up with a very generous drizzle of olive oil, followed by a nice sprinkling of sea salt, since unsalted tomatoes just don't taste as good. And that's it, my toy box tomato ricotta cheese torta was ready to enjoy. So I went ahead and cut out a piece and served it up. And eventually I grabbed a fork and dug in to what I thought was going to be a massive improvement on my initial test. But as soon as I took that first taste, I realized I had not followed my own advice that I've given you like a million times over the years, which is less is more. Right, first of all, the extra flour I added sort of took away from the creaminess of the cheese. And it wasn't bad. I just thought it was a little bit drier than it should have been. And the original reason I added the extra flour is because I was hoping to sort of mimic a texture of a thing called gnudi, which is a poached Italian dumpling that we make with ricotta and cheese and flour. And this did kind of sort of end up with a similar texture and taste. But like I said, I went a little too far. And as far as the flavor goes, this had way too much garlic in it, which really overpowered everything. And that creme fraiche pesto spread I put over the top made everything worse. So while it kind of looked nice and did add a little extra richness, I'm not recommending you spread that over before you put on your tomatoes. Or maybe you just do the creme fraiche or sour cream and don't do the pesto. So that adjustment I'll leave up to you. I mean, you guys are, after all, the bosses of your optional sauces. But if we're going to add something to a recipe to make it better, it should not make it worse. Oh, and I'll also be reducing the amount of Parmesan, since I put too much of that in as well. But other than those 5 or 6 mistakes, this was pretty much perfect. But all kidding aside, I have no regrets. And not only is it okay to have the occasional bad day in the kitchen, where you make a series of ill-advised decisions, it is actually a good thing, since it forces you to question exactly what you're trying to achieve. So as long as we make those changes and use the right amounts, I truly believe you're going to love this, which is why I really do hope you give it a try soon. So please follow the links below for the ingredient amounts, a printable written recipe, and much more info as usual. And as always, enjoy.